The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Hello, welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Wednesday in the Riven. Boy, do we have a lot of stuff to give you guys today.
And nobody else is breaking what we're going to break right now.
Nobody's breaking it. Nope. Yeah. Remember, you heard it on Spindle City First.
According to our sources, which here's the email, and Chip has the business plan.
Yeah.
The Corky Row Club is looking at selling the building to Billy Damaris and the Vietnam Veterans Association of Fall River Incorporated. And they even list how they're going to finance Billy Damaris is going to finance the sale and the upkeep. Now, one of the very interesting things is there's a mortgage held on the building, and that mortgage is held by Bristol County Economic Development Corporation, or FROED, which may have been known by that at that time.
Otherwise known as Kenny Fiola.
Otherwise known as Kenny Fiola.
AKA.
And Kenny Fiola is allegedly telling the club that they should sell. Now, are you ready for this?
Yeah.
$50,000. They want the building sold for $50,000.
You pay that for a shed.
Exactly.
So, and who holds the mortgage?
Kenny Fiola.
AKA FROED.
FROED. Or Bristol County
Economic Development, or actually Fiola Economic Development, but that's a new one.
Yep. And
Fiola Fed. Fiola Economic Development.
Well, just by it being called the Fed, you know it's going to be a screw up.
Well, boy, I'll tell you what, if this doesn't smack of illegality and sweetheart deals, and how are the funding, again, public funds are going to be used for this purchase, if in the event of this purchase?
Well, here's what Billy Damaris wants to use. He wants to use community development block grant funds, ARPA money, and state grants to pay for the building. Now, here's the thing. They want to sell the building for $50,000. And for you real estate investors out there, please come forward. Because I already said I'll buy the building for $50,000. I'm sure anyone else watching the show will buy the show for $50,000.
If they had it.
Yeah, I'll take a second mortgage on my house for it. Because guess what? It's a moneymaker.
Yeah.
The building is currently worth a little over $200,000, according to the city tax roll registers.
You know what that is? Another example of Cooganomics.
Yes.
Remember the building that they sold? They sold for 1 point something. Now they're going to sell it for $6 and rolling it over. And it's someone who is very close. He was an appointee and a contributor to Paul Coogan. Now we got another building going at what, 15% of its market value.
Right.
And I don't even think that's the market value today. If you held out, you could probably get 10 times what they're getting it for. And like you said, it's a moneymaker. Sounds like another sweetheart deal to me.
Yeah, well, let me read you the letter which came out from Mark Chikaris, who's the club president. Good morning, members. As the club faces many necessary renovations, roof, floor, windows, bathroom accessibility, amongst others, we are also facing an uncertain financial future. Because of this, the Fall River War Veterans Council and Veterans Kitchen has offered to purchase the building and facilitate all the necessary repairs while allowing us to continue to use the club for St. Patrick's Day, Memorial Day festivities, meetings, etc. The bar would remain open, but it would be run by the War Council. They would also be purchasing the parking lot across the street. Some other quick details. A clause wherein if the council sells the building for profit, Corky Row is compensated, and a 15-year agreement to share space, which would bring us through the 100th year anniversary of the club. This entire breakdown of this proposal is attached. Please note that in a brief meeting with Bill Eddy, we did notice a mistake on the mortgage payment, which I corrected in red. Please read the document carefully. We'll be voting on whether or not to approve the sale on Saturday, September 10th at 2 p.m. It is critical to hear the details and voice concerns. Sincerely, Mark Chikaris, President. Now, once again, the mortgage is held by FROED or BCEDC or Ken Fiola or whoever it may be, who is also allegedly acting as the intermediary between Billy Damaris, who is the Veterans War Council, by the way, and the club. Like I said, I'd purchase the club for $50,000.
Yeah, but you're not in.
But I'm not part of the in deal.
This is a sweetheart deal.
Right, exactly.
This is a sweetheart deal.
And when you look at, and can I see that for a second?
Absolutely.
Because I want to talk about some of the expenses they're talking about. Okay, heat, $500 on average a month. Insurance, $300, $500 a month on average. Oh, wow, they're paying a lot in insurance. Mortgage, $343. Electricity, $200. Water, $150. Supplies, $100. Trash, $100. Total is $2,393 times 12 months is $28,716. Now here's their annual revenue sources. St. Patrick's Day dinner, $7,000 to $8,000. Annual golf tournament, $4,000 to $5,000. Rent, Veterans Kitchen, which is $5,000 per year. They pay $400 a month. And donations between $3,000 and $4,000 a year for a total of $19,000 to $22,000 a year. Right off the bat, you see that they're running about a $6,000 deficit. They need, in phase 1, capital improvements, repair the roof, front windows leak, install new lighting, and cameras and buy adjacent parking lot. Total $80,000. Phase 2 capital needs, repair and upgrade bathrooms, plumbing, and electrical, $125,000. Phase 3 capital needs, reconfigure, expand kitchen, bar area, and hall, $145,000. Total, $350,000. Now, accordingly, the Corky Road Club of tomorrow they're talking about, which I'm not going to get into, they want to make a new music venue, expanded hall rentals. If the Veterans War Council purchases it, they're a 501c3, and they could ask local businesses, foundation, individuals for tax-deductible contributions in the $250,000, $501,000 range to pay for additional programs to improve the Corky Road neighborhood. The list of project budgets illustrates a full range. Cleanups, scholarships, youth sports, murals, stipends. Once a nonprofit and budget were in place. Now, here's how they're going to pay for this if the War Council gets it. City, emergency CPC funds, CDBG funds, and ARPA. Again, the CPA. That thing that's got to go.
That's the thorn in the side of everybody.
Yep. $35,000. Mass development funds, $30,000. Private funds and or in-kind donations, $15,000. If they could get $15,000 in in-kind contributions for a phase 1 thing, why can't they get that over here on their donations where it says $4,000 per year? I don't understand it. They get 15 here, but only 4,000 there. This is why it's starting to not make any sense. Phase 2, which would be November 2022 to 2023. 2 new bathrooms, $40,000. Plumbing, $35,000. Electrical upgrades, $50,000. Total, $125,000. Source of revenue, CPA funds, community development block grant, ARPA funds, $50,000. Mass development funds, $50,000. Private funds and or in contributions, $25,000. Went up again. See that?
Yeah.
Phase 3, expenses, new kitchen, $55,000. Reconfigured bar area, $40,000. Hall and basement, $50,000. Total, $145,000. Again, city source, CDBG and opera funds. This time, we don't have CPA funds. Oh, and by the way, they're going to apply for the CPA funds in an emergency so they can get it any time.
Oh, yeah, of course. And look.
Oh, no, this time, though, in phase 3, Community Preservation Act funds, they got as a separate line item because they're going to ask for $40,000. Okay? Mass development funds, $40,000, and private funds, again, $20,000. You notice it keeps going up and down all over the place?
Yeah.
Yep. Now, if the War Council can do this, why can't the Corky Road Club? Why can't they do it themselves?
Yeah, and not only that, look, you're looking at over, you're going over all this stuff, renovations of halls, bar reconfiguration, and this is a non-profit, but they got a bar and they got a hall and they got a whole bunch of stuff, and they're gonna sell stuff at the bar, and now if they utilize the hall, why don't they sell? But of course, this again is another sweetheart deal for the people who fit. And they're going to get it totally funded by the taxpayer.
Right.
You're going to tell me you can't find somebody to buy that place for $50 grand and do those things? Do it as you can, because obviously they're still operating to a degree.
That's right.
They may need some use. But now you got a hall, you got a bar, you got a whole bunch of things. Now, you cited about 6 different things that they do in an entire year. Why wouldn't somebody buy that place, open it up 7 days a week or 6 days a week? They've got a restaurant there, right? The War Council has a kitchen there.
Right.
So why don't they serve food, open it up to the public, and make some business? $50,000 today? And not only that, not $50,000 out of their pocket. We got developers that are buying houses sight unseen for $500,000.
That's right.
You're telling me that they can't get rid of this? This is the cabal in action again. Kenny Fiola and the cabal. Everybody that fits. We all know who's friendly with who in this deal. This is a sweetheart deal from the get-go.
That's right.
It is just another deal like the last one. Buy it 1.6, sell it under value, roll it over sick. But there's nothing wrong. And as a matter of fact, I heard the Herald News had an article saying, there's nothing wrong with this. No, there's nothing wrong with rolling something over and getting about a $5 million profit when you're on a board. There's no conflict. There's no ethical problem here. I'm sure that, actually, I just had to take the ethics course again because I had to go down because that COVID caused the election to the retirement board to be delayed. So I just kept serving, and then I was reelected. And now you have to take the ethics course every 2 years, so I took the ethics course. Again, and the ethics course is very clear about stuff like this. You're not supposed to do things like this. Even if it is legal, it is not ethical. This is a board member, a contributor, and nobody knows the machinations of what happened here. How many other people even knew this was available? How many other developers, what they're paying for 3 decades?
Right.
You're going to tell me you couldn't find a developer somewhere in the state of Massachusetts to buy that property and roll it over? These guys make a living doing that stuff.
That's right.
But amazingly in Fall River, we can't dump this place. Kind of sounds like Valley Steakhouse that got sold for $1 and then Stop and Shop bought it for a boatload of money.
Right.
The same thing with the Shores property, $1. And we all know who bought that.
Yep.
And the same thing with Paroma Drape. I think that one went for $500, and they're trying to sell it again. Isn't it amazing how all these deals? It's just it's like the perfect storm, a confluence of all these amazing coincidences that come together to just give stuff away in an economy where the housing prices, everything is out of control. You're buying buildings, $5 million under market, and now you're going to grab a building that has the potential to become, look, there's political times. We got a political season coming up in 2 years, a big one.
Right.
You don't think politicians would rent the Corky Row Hall? You don't think, no, of course not. They're not going to do that. Another one. And then you're paying for it. The taxpayers, again. I know why Kenny Fiola, this is it. This is an epiphany. I have found out why he was almost bankrupt when he wasn't involved with the city again. Anybody who recommends selling this building for $50 grand when he holds the mortgage, when if he could sell it for a hell of a lot more, that's why he was almost bankrupt. Because you're not going to tell me there's not something rotten in the state of Denmark on this whole thing, just like the last one. And they just keep rolling, taxpayer. They just keep rolling. Remember that. You're going to pay for basically all of this.
That's
CPA,
right.
that CPA's got to go, by the way. That CPA's got to go. Nothing but sweetheart deals, air conditioners for politically connected people, for the libraries, all this other stuff. And I don't care what kind of commercial they put on. This is not what it was sold. I remember Dennis in front of the council talking about the restoration of historic buildings. That's what you sold it as. It was bullshit then, and it's bullshit now. They conned you again, like they did with the charter. This was about restoration and protecting property. It's not. It's a political pot for all their friends to dip in. Well, and while we're on that subject, I'm going to segue in quickly, because taxpayer money again. Screw the taxpayer. Let them pay. I don't have to pay. Let the taxpayer pay. Why can't they scrape up 50 grand? That's not a lot of money to get a mortgage on a property.
Well, no, and this was the thing. If their members got together, accordingly, there's about 30 paid members, and there's about 63 total members. One of those members happens to be Ray Haig. Ray Haig also happens to be on the board of directors for the Vietnam Veterans Association of Fall River Incorporated, and maybe on the War Council. Ray Haig was also a former veteran service officer. If they each forked over a grand, 63 of them, that'd be $63,000.
Yeah. You know, you're right. But then again, they're doing this. The VFW was dying down there. They were selling fish and chips to try to stay afloat.
I know.
And the VFW has been around for years. How come we've never seen any money diverted over there? No. They're scraping. They can't get two nickels to rub together. We got an American Legion. We got a VFW. So what's going on here? And talk about the disregard for the taxpayers. This is taxpayers. It's not their money. You're going to tell me you can't get a $50,000 mortgage on a property that's worth 200 and whatever? Of course you can. But you don't. Because again, this is like the dollar for Valley Steakhouse.
Yep.
Again, and Paul is doing it again. Paul the Punisher, Punitive Paul, the guy who loves to take money out of your pocket while he gives it to his friends and creates all kinds of high-paying jobs and give out massive pay raises, has now said he's not going to use opera money for the water. Correct?
The Bristol County opera money.
The Bristol County, yeah. Yep. But he's not going to use it for
No,
it.
he's not.
And Michelle Dion wanted to save the tax, and we were talking about instead of saving 50 cents, we're going to save a couple of cents.
Yep.
Now he's going to eliminate it completely. You're not going to save a penny. Guess what, though? His crew, his rubber stamps, his bobbleheads, Laura Washington, and the rest are getting their money. They're going to get their money. They're getting their cut of the pie. The taxpayers, Paul said, screw it. I don't even want them to get a dime, not a quarter, nothing. I got a chance to make your life a little easier in this inflation bordering on, it is a recession, but even the people who are trying to say it's not a recession said by the mid-23 we will be in a recession. 2 out of 3 people are living paycheck to paycheck in this society, and they took away pennies from you and nickels from you. When he had that PEC meeting and said, I'm looking for nickels and dimes, he forgot to finish the sentence. I'm looking for nickels and dimes from the taxpayer. I'm giving millions to my friends. This is outrageous. This is outrageous. I mean, the patronage. You know, we've got a council that's bought and paid for. Things have got to change, people. You got to go to the polls. You cannot continue this. If you're gonna complain, you got no complaints if you don't bounce most of these people out of office. The reality is it's ridiculous. I mean, I was watching it today on the paper. They don't do anything. They don't do anything. Here comes one of my slips now. Look out. Because I see these things and I write them down. Let's see. That's the wrong pocket. That's another slip.
Well, what's interestingly enough, as you said, you know, Paul has made sure he's reached out to the people. And again, the Corky Row is now his new thing.
Yeah.
Okay? Because, and again, it's Billy Damaris, which means if Billy Damaris is involved, somewhere you will find Linda Pereira. Okay? Sure. And we know that Linda Pereira has the mayor's ear.
Among other things.
Amongst other things. So we have to look at this. Oh, and by the way, that $325,000 for the ice rink?
Yeah.
It may not happen.
Well.
I was told by my sources that Linda was advised by the 6th floor that she needs to have a formalized plan for it, not just say, we're going to get a nice skating rink and what are we going to do with it?
Oh, you mean we're not going to get to watch the children skate at the sunset?
That nobody knew about.
But nobody knew about. Yeah, you're right. But look, this is the way they operate. Everything's behind closed doors. Everything is inbred Jed.
Yep.
You know the old saying is this, down south, there's one of the states that after the justice of the peace declares them man and wife, you know what the first question is? Is she still my cousin if we get divorced? I don't know. This is what Fall River's all about. But let me tell you about the real world. With the country going completely nuts, crime in the streets, carjackings up like 800% in some towns. And there were 787 carjackings, I think, in New Orleans.
Right.
But I saw an interview today. You know, the only city in the city we talked about that was a crap hole, somebody turned it around. Miami. Big money city, tremendous tourism, but the rest of the city was crime-ridden and stuff. But guess what? Crime is down. They interviewed the mayor, Francis Suarez. This is how he fixed Miami. Not with market rate housing, not with sweetheart deals. First of all, he completely funded the police department and enhanced it. Then get ready, everybody, so you don't faint, sit down. I want everybody to sit down or grab something so you don't fall over, especially on the 6th floor when you're watching today. I don't want you to get, He lowered taxes. Lowered taxes. Did you hear what I said? This is a quote. People are healthy, happy, working, and not paying a lot of taxes. That's what spurred a 12% growth, the lowest crime rate in decades, and a 1.4% unemployment rate. And his final quote was, keep taxes low and keep the people happy. Are you listening, Paulie? Not you. We know where your loyalties lie, and they're not to the taxpayer.
And that's the problem, That's always a problem. And it's interesting that he decided to lower taxes. We would never see that here in Fall River.
No. Remember, they told us we have to pay them every year, no matter what.
And remember, Paul said when he was running for office that he would return some of that tax money to the taxpayer.
Lie.
Yep, absolute lie. Absolute lie.
Not once, but twice he said that.
Exactly. And again, we don't get it. And the people of Fall River don't get this. You put this guy into office, and granted, there wasn't much of a choice the first time around. Okay? And the second time around, had the guy not put his foot in his mouth, maybe he would have gotten somewhere. But I believe that the people of Fall River were saying, this guy hasn't had enough time. We're in COVID. We need to do it.
He used the COVID cover.
Yep.
He used the COVID cover. We know that was always the COVID cover.
Right, exactly. So it makes it for an interesting time. So as you know, there's an organization or a group of people here in Fall River that is starting a lawsuit against the city.
Yes.
Well, hear this.
That's right. You've got that.
I've got this as well. More than 24 potential plaintiffs across the Commonwealth, including the conservative-leaning Massachusetts Fiscal Alliance, claim they are ready to sue state officials if they refuse to comply with a 1980s law poised to return some $3 billion in excess tax revenues to cash-strapped Bay Staters this fall. The law is known as Chapter 62F. And right now, they are considering filing a lawsuit unless Suzanne Bump, which is the state auditor, decides to return this money.
Cool.
Escalating the pressure on Bump earlier Monday, lawyers supporting the coalition of plaintiffs sent her office a letter recapping the parameters of the tax cap law enacted through 1986 ballot question. So again, this is a ballot question that you, the voters, passed. So remember, this is your law, which, by the way, Michael Roderick says he wants to eliminate.
Of course he does.
Okay.
Of course, because heaven forbid they return money, and we're talking billions. You're right, of course. But while you're on that, let me say we do have a pending suit. And if you want further information, go to the Spindle City Straight Talk website, or go to Facebook, Spindle City's Facebook page. You'll get further information on it, and feel free to send us any questions about it, and we will tell you. But we know that the city has misappropriated money. We know the city steals our money, and they have stolen our money too. So let's get it back.
Now, according to the plaintiffs, on Monday, would not delineate how likely it is that Bump would sidestep the tax cap law. Bump herself, in a statement to Mass Live, emphasized Monday her office's report will be published on or before September 20th. Daniel Winslow, president of the New England Legal Foundation, expressed worry that the Massachusetts legislature may repeal Chapter 62F if they return to session to finalize a nearly $4 billion economic development and tax relief bill that failed to emerge from closed-door negotiations during the end of the formal lawmaking earlier this month.
Yeah.
We are aware that the auditor is receiving a significant political pressure to delay the certification with the thought that the legislature would repeal the statute when they come back into session at the top of the new session, Winslow said as he mulled over another problematic scenario during the press conference. So again, your elected officials, who by the way are up for re-election, but nobody's running against them.
Well,
nobody's running against them. Want to screw you.
Look, you had a chance to get some of your money back, and Mike Roderick is saying no, like he always does.
So we got Paul and Mike saying no. Massachusetts
rebate,
is back.
Tax rebate? No.
Yeah.
Mike Roderick says no. Why? Because we got to use the money for our pet projects and give it to our friends. And I would just want to touch this. We got a quick minute. I looked at the law about Massachusetts Bay. I was sent this law, and there's a very disturbing line in here. It says, for the purposes of determining the amount to be credited, and also when you run under budget, that's true. The Massachusetts, credit to the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority, state and local contribution funds established pursuant to subsection A. So right there, I want you people to know that we are liable if they run under budget.
Right.
Because it doesn't say state's going to reimburse it. It says state and local.
Right.
I am going to send a letter to my state representative asking for a clarification as to just how that is computed. Because if you read this law, and this law is long and very confusing intentionally, it is Section 35T, Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority State and Local Contribution Fund. I think it's, I'll post the other one. There's another section, the chapter. But listen, they love to take your money and they never give it back.
And this is why they proposed the question after the train was already coming.
That's right.
Unlike when they're supposed to propose
and then
the question
said, we're sure
before.
it's going to be approved, of
Right.
course, because you're going to lie your butt off again.
Exactly. Well, I want to thank you all for watching. Keep watching, because we're going to be bringing you more of this information as it comes to us. And remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Friday. Have a great day.